Welcome, film industry professionals, film buffs, and aspiring filmmakers. I'm your host, Fernando Gillen, and our lovely co-host, Dana De La Camera. This is the Cinema Pathway TV show, presented by Paradoxical Films and brought to you by Cine Videotech. Join us on this journey behind the camera and, most importantly, beyond what we know about cinema and the craft of filmmaking and all its mysteries. So please take a seat, grab a soda and some popcorn, and join us on this cinema road together, because we are the Cinema Pathway TV show.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Cinema Pathway TV show. We are going to dive in today with a real trailblazer, someone who is a legend, who has been casting talent, and who has been advocating for the South Florida film industry for over 30 years. Ellen, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Ellen Jacoby has had a huge influence in the South Florida film community by casting some of the biggest films like Rock of Ages, There's Something About Mary, Entourage, True Lies, Ali, The Birdcage, The Truman Show, The Waterboy, Flipper, the iconic Miami Vice, The Specialist, Mortal Kombat On Quest, Burn Notice, CSI Miami, and many, many more films and TV series and commercials in English and Spanish. She has also worked with well-known directors such as Steven Soderbergh, Sidney Pollack, the Farrelly Brothers, Bob Zemeckis, Ron Howard, Michael Bay, Randa Haines, Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, Tim Burton, and many, many more. Ellen is the founder and president of Ellen Jacoby Casting International, a casting office with separate film, television, commercial, and Hispanic divisions casting projects across the United States. Ellen also empowers talent through teaching online acting classes for kids, teens, and adults at the Green Room Acting Studio. Ellen has employed over 300,000 actors, dancers, and performers throughout the years, and her actions have earned her the key to the city of Miami Beach, and she recently received a Lifetime Achievement Award from her alma mater, Franklin College. Ellen has also traveled to Tallahassee to work with legislators regarding the Florida film incentives and was successful in bringing them back in the early 2000s. She was also nominated for the Tallahassee Women's Hall of Fame and placed in the top 10. The city of Miami Beach declared October 23rd and the city of Palm Beach declared December 6th as Ellen Jacoby Day. I am just so excited. Really, I'm kind of fangirling right now. But before we get into that, I see you brought a special guest with you.
Yes, my son. It's Teddy OMG. He goes with me everywhere.
I'm suggesting he become our
mascot.
I
don't know if people recognize me without him.
I'm so glad that both of you could join us today. So, Ellen, let's dive in. So can you share with us a little bit about your childhood? I found it fascinating about how you grew up.
I was born in Miami, Jackson Memorial. We moved to New York, actually, when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And I was raised in New York City and then New Jersey. I went to private professional school in Manhattan. I was 11 when I started high school, and I had been singing and dancing my whole life. I studied June Taylor. And then we moved to New Jersey, and I went to high school in New Jersey. I started, like I said, when I was 11, started college when I was 15. I was bullied a lot then. Of course, we didn't know what bullying was back then, but I was teased because I was so young in school. My hair, I never got a haircut. My hair was all the way down my back, and it was beautiful. And everybody laughed at my hair, called me names. So I cut my hair. My mother cried. Then I went to college, and I graduated college, and I was going to move back to Florida. My parents said, you can't move till you're 21. You've got to stay home. So I started working and everything, and still doing singing and dancing. And then I moved to Florida. I started singing for Holiday Inns, and they booked me at different Holiday Inns around the country. It was kind of fun. And then one night I was singing at Holiday Inn in Miami Beach, and I fell off the stage into the orchestra pit, and I broke my back.
So how did that impact you?
It impacted me a lot. I immediately went home. My daddy helped me get better. It was very difficult because I had to give up. I was a tennis player and I was a dancer. I had to give all that up. You find ways of fulfilling yourself in other ways. You don't stop. You don't give up. You always move forward. A friend of mine was opening up a nightclub in the Bahamas and invited me, and I went. And I saw a backgammon table. I said, oh, what's that? I found out that it was a game, and very few women if any were in. It was all the best men, and they all wanted to teach me. And I started playing backgammon. I started doing it professionally. I played all over the world.
So, Ellen, tell us a little bit about this, how you got into backgammon. And, because all I can think about is the Queen's Gambit. And now I'm thinking maybe we need a Queen's Gambit with backgammon.
A friend of mine was opening a nightclub and invited me over to the Bahamas to the opening. I saw a backgammon table. I said, oh, what's this? Meanwhile, my parents told me the only thing I ever learned in college was how to play every card game. So I like to gamble and I have a mathematical mind.
I was wondering about that. Okay, all right, go ahead.
So I started playing backgammon around the world, and I became an international champion.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was really crazy. My friends, I was 22, and my friends were Lucille Ball, very dear friend, Johnny Carson, Harry Winston. And I used to go to the palace all the time from Princess Grace and Prince Rainier. They were friends. I was a 22-year-old lunatic. We would drive down the streets and the guys would see an outfit in the window. I'd say, wow, isn't that fabulous? Very revealing, kind of crazy outfits they had back then. I said, it's fabulous. The guy said, but who would wear it? I said, I would. The guys would run in and go buy it for me to see me wear it. It was really great. I loved it. I got to see so much beauty around the world.
So if you had to look back at that time and there was like one specific memory that look back fondly on, or what would that be for you?
That's tough. I have so many good memories. I think when Dean Martin kissed me. No, that's about all I want to say about that. I was a kid.
But that was a fond memory. Any other fond memories that you want to?
I have lots of fond memories.
Yeah.
It was really wonderful knowing those people and being invited to the palace all the time. It was quite different. Nothing that I had expected. And Lucy and I bonded so well. She said to me, when she called me, she would call me all the time and write each other. That was when people used to write,
Yes, of course.
And she called me and said, there's a tournament in Vegas. Let's meet there. I said, okay, great. So really funny. I never buttoned a blouse when I played backgammon or wore a bra. I'd wear it open and I'd tie it at the waist.
Good girl.
And when I first met Lucy, I said, oh, what am I going to wear to meet Lucille Ball? So I buttoned my blouse up to the neck. I made my hair in a ponytail, very conservative. And when we met in Vegas, I was like, I'm normally playing backgammon with my shirt unbuttoned and everything. And she saunters into the room. And of course, it's a huge ballroom of everybody playing backgammon. And I'm famous. They all know me in the backgammon world. And Lucy saunters in with a floor-length fur coat on. Everybody goes, oh, it's Lucille Ball. It's Lucille Ball. And she's looking for me because I know she's there to see me. And she comes over to my table. She says, oh, my God. Ellen Jacoby. And everybody goes crazy. And she says, I knew her when she buttoned her blouses. And she started going on this whole thing with me. We used to have so much fun. And she used to make me go shopping with her because when she would go shopping, people would just swarm her. So she used to make me go shopping with her and help protect her.
That is such a beautiful memory. I mean, and you have to be strategic and use all of your assets when you're playing, for sure. So it's a combination of brains and beauty. Have you ever thought of writing a book, or have you written a book?
I haven't, and so many people want me to do.
Because a lot of these people, they've passed and so forth at this time, no disrespect to them, but you're allowed to have your perspective and it's your experience, and you can share as much as you feel comfortable. Well, obviously, you want to protect your friends, I would imagine, but I think it's already sounds fascinating, and we've only been talking for a few minutes. So I just want to backtrack for one quick second. When was like the first glimmer? When was like the first time you just stepped your toe in the arts? Like, how did you know?
Well, I started elementary school, private professional school.
I don't know what private professional school is.
It was a private school, and it was a professional school. My friends were Patty Duke, the Haines brothers. Hines, and Dad used to perform then, and then Gregory Hines. And they were famous people within that. And that's when I started June Taylor dancing as well.
So then this was like a class for a specific group of talent.
Talented, bright people.
Yes, of course. So tell us, how did you go from backgammon to casting?
Yeah, there were no natural segues. A friend of mine was opening up a casting company, and I was, traveling around with backgammon. And she said, well, come help me with it. When you not doing a tournament or something, come. So I did. And I kind of liked it. It was interesting. And I had a tournament come in, and then a movie came in, and I had to make a choice. And I said, I'm going to open my own business. And I did. And I knocked on doors, pounded the pavement, called everybody and knocked on doors, and I finally got a job. And then that one job led to another.
How have you seen the industry changing over the years in regards to casting?
I don't think the industry has changed all that much through the years till COVID. COVID was a huge, huge influence because we couldn't do casting in person. And it's kind of held on to virtual casting. So now everybody is virtually casting. So if I put out a casting call, I get tapes from everybody. A few months ago, I put out a casting call. I had several characters, but for one role, I got 3,000 submissions.
Wow.
That's kind of crazy. And no, I don't watch them all. I open them all. I do open every one. But if the lighting is wrong, the sound is wrong, I don't finish it at all. That's what people are doing. And I strongly suggest that in my classes too, is that you make yourself able to set up a good video facility in your home, in your space, with the backdrop and the lighting. Lighting has to be good. Sound has to be good. Sometimes they have someone who's reading with them, and you only hear the reader. You don't hear the actor.
What's your process? How do you go about narrowing down 3,000? I mean, once you've narrowed it down, right? Okay, bad lighting and sound. How do you go about narrowing it down from there?
I narrow it down to the people that I feel actually fit the role and have the good acting ability and have been able to portray the character. And as I tell them, they are not the character. They are controlling the character. They are giving the character direction. I look for that. And then I send the ones that I like best to the producer and director. And then they narrow it down. When it comes down to callbacks and you've got like the best 2 or 3, all equally good and believable performers for the role, then it goes down to, well, I thought you'd be taller. I thought you'd be shorter. I thought you'd have red hair. I thought you'd be a blonde. I thought you'd be thinner. I thought you'd be heavier. It has nothing to do with your acting ability. Now it's just them, the writer, the director, the producer, figuring out how they envision that character with other characters. And with a TV series, I can guarantee that if you make it to callbacks and you're going to, it's between you and someone else for that role. If you don't make it, I guarantee you'll be making it in another episode.
Because you got like exposure. People have seen you at that level. So they keep you
at
in
that level.
They
Exactly.
keep you in mind for future opportunities then.
Absolutely.
I'm always curious, it's like, what is that kind of it factor that kind of has you go when, like you said, you have several actors that are all good. So, it's like what the director had the envision for them to physically look like is what it comes down to.
And sometimes the director and the writer have different visions. So they have to work on that together and select who they want.
For those actors that might be getting into acting new to the industry and not understanding, can you kind of tell us a little bit, what is the process and where do you fit into the process of auditioning and being cast?
Well, if someone really wants to get into acting, they've got to study it. Just like in any other profession you want to become, you have to study that profession. And I teach acting, but I teach one class, teens 1 night a week, adults 1 night a week. So I have several classes during the week, but they only take 1 class a week. And I tell them, you cannot expect to be an actor by taking my class once a week. You have to practice. Like if you wanted to be anything else, a doctor, a yoga instructor, whatever, you have to practice every day. So I always have them enter contact information so they can intermingle and practice during the week, even though they're not near each other or anything, because it's virtual, they can do anything. And it's really great because it's very helpful for them. And I can see it when they come the following week that they have worked out and practiced.
And then as far as like getting an agent, that kind of a thing, is that when with the students that you work with, do you kind of see how they progress, and then when you think they're ready, do you suggest, or do you just tell them knock on doors, audition?
Well, what things I really stress, well, first I teach that you have to be positive. This is a business of rejection. They have to be positive, they have to be believable, and they have to be in control of everything they do. In order to do all that, you have to be comfortable with who you are. And when you're comfortable with who you are and you feel you have the ability, you've got to get a headshot, you've got to get a resume, and you have to get a talent agent. The problem is so many non-reputable, I don't know how to say it nicely, there's so many agents that have opened up that are non-reputable, non-licensed, and charge you a lot of money. I mean, I have parents, the parents are the worst victims, that come with their children and they say, well, I just spent $6,000 for that agent. I just spent $12,000 for that agent, $10,000. Agent costs you nothing. An agent gets a commission on the paid work that they get you. So that's why a lot of people ask me if I could be their agent. Well, I wouldn't. I couldn't. It's a conflict of interest. If I were repping talent, those would be the talent I would send. I wouldn't be as open-minded. So that's why there's certain things that you have to be aware of in any profession. But certainly you need a licensed agent, and they charge you nothing except a commission on the paid work that they get you.
After the work has been completed.
Yes.
Parents too, they try for their kids, and then unfortunately
they get
taken advantage of. Learning everything, I mean, constantly. I think you learn something from every teacher that you take with, and it's always great. You always learn a little nugget, You
might even learn what to do. You might learn what not to do.
That's true.
Yeah, you do. You learn both. And it's very important that you take it all in and then practice it. And of course, negative things happen to all of us. And I really preach positivity. But negative things happen to all of us. But put it behind you. You can always call upon it when you need to get to that mindset, when you have an acting job that requires that. But put it behind you and move forward positively. And if you really want it, go for it. Don't have any regrets.
Absolutely. I think the other thing is to always be on time. Because I hear from a lot of different people that actors are not on time. And if you're not on time to a project, that's just like the biggest sign of like unprofessionalism.
That's control. Positivity, believability, and it's control. It's up to you to be there on time. And on time is 5 minutes early, maybe 10 minutes early, not a half an hour early, not an hour early. I do a lot of extras as well on set. And featured and all that stuff. And like when I did the Waterboy, I had to fill the stands with people. It's funny. One commercial I did in the Bahamas, I had to charter a jet to fly everybody over there. And it had 100 seats for me. So I booked 100 people. 99 showed up. Fine. And it happens on set too, where all of a sudden I'll go to set and 99 are there. And the 100th person will show up a half an hour late. I don't need you. Goodbye. And that name goes in my book. I don't want to use them again. If you don't have the right protocol, it's, like I said, a very competitive business with rejection. Let someone who's there on time that really wants it, give them
a chance.
Yeah. If I'm there on time, everybody else could be there on time.
So how do you go about casting when it's such a large group, like 100 people?
I use talent agents. If it's way, way bigger that, the agents can't supply anybody, I will put some, and now social media's that's a whole different story, but I will post on casting media and backstage and things like that and Facebook.
And if it's not like a specific type of person, you just try to cast like a variety of people? Is that the thought process?
Yes. Like when I did Will Smith's Welcome to Miami video. Oh, it was so fun. I needed so many people as extras. I needed so many dancers. And it's just so great because they all want to. And you can see that. If someone's hesitant, I'm not going to look to book them. Oh, yes, please, book me. I really would like to do that. You're on. It comes from inside that gives them something that they really, really want to do. And it can help move them up the ranks.
With that being said, I know you've helped nurture a lot of careers. So what are some of the careers that you're most proud of nurturing and seeing them kind of grow as actors?
Well, there's this one girl, when I did the TV series Mortal Kombat in Orlando, I needed extras that would work every day. But because of the Mortal Kombat and the thing, we could disguise them. We could put hairdresses on or, masks and so they wouldn't look the same every day. And I found this one girl, Alana de la Garza, and she was there every day. 2 seasons, every day, never complained. Can I go home yet? Oh, I don't feel well. I don't want to come today. Was there with a smile on her face every day and took it seriously. And back then we were paying $50 a day. But of course that was, that was the rate. And she's a series regular on a TV series now, and it makes me feel good that she wanted it so badly. And it was funny because at $50 a day working every day, 12 hours. I had a commercial. I'd fly back and forth from Orlando to Miami, and I got a big commercial casting in for a hair job that was shooting in South Africa. And I showed them all the beautiful girls and the models that they wanted to see with beautiful hair. And they said, they're really great, but we want someone who's a little bit more exotic. I said, oh my God, Alana would be great. So I had gotten her an agent by then, and I called and I said, I wouldn't ask her to come down from Orlando if I didn't think she had a good shot at this. And it paid $20,000, which is a lot different than the $50
Yes.
a day. She booked it. They
for
took her to
her.
South Africa. She had that whole trip and everything, plus $20,000. And then she went and took more classes.
Acting is, you're running a marathon, right? So you have to constantly be training and ready for the opportunity when it comes.
Absolutely.
Right? When you do casting, do you test actors for directability while you're casting?
It depends on how they do. I do give direction and see if they can take it.
That's also really important because you want to, if they can't take the direction that they're, with you, they're not going to be able to take that on set.
Right. And oftentimes when I put out a scene, they haven't seen the whole script, so they don't know. They can't delve into that person very well if the person's throughout the script. They're just doing that one scene. So if they are really good at doing that one scene, but the character is a little bit different than the movie would have it, I give them direction and say, this is how it's going to be, da-da-da-da, and see if they can do that. And good actors can.
Because they don't know what happened the scene before or what's coming after, and
Exactly.
you can help them with that. So we're going to go ahead and take a short break, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Tell Your Story. It is a masterclass hands-on workshop that is presented by Cine Videotech and brought to you by Paradoxical Films. Crafting cinematic vision and lighting engineers with the instructor, Mr. Egon Stefan Jr. You will learn how to work with actual film, 16mm, Super 16mm, 35mm, and film cameras. In addition, how to load them and change magazines. Furthermore, the workshop will prepare you on how and what it takes to work on set as a first or second assistant camera, the fundamentals of lighting, and the pathway to becoming a director of photography. Furthermore, coming soon, unveiling the artistry, a mastering of makeup techniques with the uber-talented special effects makeup artist, Bianca Graciani. She will enrich your knowledge and techniques with professional tools that are implemented in the film industry, commercials, and more. For information about the classes and updates, everything will be posted on our website at www.paradoxicalfilms.com/tellyourstory.
Welcome back to the Cinema Pathway TV show. We are here with the legendary award-winning cast and director, Ellen Jacoby. So, Ellen, you're a very intelligent, talented person. It seems like you could do anything you wanted to do if you thought about or felt like it. What do you think has kept you in casting all these years?
I like helping people fulfill their dreams. It makes me feel good. It's funny, when you give someone a gift and they love it, they smile, you're happier than they are. And I feel that way too. I like helping people realize their dreams. Of course, there's many people that are not going to make it in this business, but I think it's best to let them know that. It's such a rewarding feeling.
If you weren't doing casting, though, what do you think you might be doing?
Gambling.
Tell us a little bit about that. Because I know you mentioned it before that your brain, you have a mathematical brain. So is that just how does that work in a brain? How do you look at things, or do you look at the world? Do you think you see the world differently because of that?
I don't think so. I think that being intelligent and having that kind of brain has helped me through life. When I see things and I have to figure out prices of things or something, I see a price, I immediately know what it boils down to individually. I don't know. I like the gambling, not so much as the casino. I enjoy going to casinos too, but I like the camaraderie that I had with backgammon and the trophies I won and things like that. It was wonderful.
Yeah, so you're part of a community, not only people who shared the same passion that you did for the game. I guess just with numbers, you can figure things out very quickly in your brain by just looking without much effort. I think that's so cool. I don't have that superpower. I find it fascinating that that's one of your many superpowers. And there's lots of things in life you can gamble on. Essentially, you're gambling on actors too, that they can deliver, right?
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
It's your name
especially
on the line,
when I recommend
right?
someone.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that's definitely an element of gambling in that, I think, too. Out of all the projects that you've done, let's say films, which one has been your favorite so far?
Everybody asks me that. What was my favorite film? Who's my favorite director to work with? And I just can't pick one. I became friends with Jim Carrey. He was great to work with. James Cameron was a great director. Scared the hell out of me.
Why? What happened?
He will correct someone a member of the crew, like in front of everybody else, and hollered at them and everything. It's like embarrassing. And when I was walking down the street where we were filming, I saw him, and he goes like this. I figured he can't be talking to me. I'm looking around, who's he talking to? And I said, uh-oh, what did I do wrong? And I walked over to James, and he said, you are doing a fabulous job. I was like, oh my God, the people you're getting and everything. And it just went on and on. And then someone ran over to him and said, Mr. Cameron, we have a big problem with the police car and the helicopter. He turned to him and he says, can you say I'm busy speaking to someone? And I said, they have a major big problem. He still wants to talk to me. It was like, oh my.
That must have made you feel
and
good.
of course, Ron Howard was wonderful. And the Farrelly Brothers, oh my God. All we do is laugh. I've been so lucky to have worked with so many great ones. Martin Scorsese. I did the movie Cape Fear. And I like to work with charities. A lot of times they'll want huge crowds, but they don't want to have to pay them as extras. What I do is I make a donation to a charity, and they'll send a bunch of people over, and we'll give them lunch and everything. So for that particular movie, I did Make-A-Wish Foundation. I had a T-shirt printed up that said Cape Fear. I was having the stars sign it. So I went to Martin Scorsese. First one signed it. Robert De Niro, James Stewart. I mean, we had a lot of stars on set that day. And I'm not going to mention any names, but I went to the female lead for her to sign it after I have all these. She looked at me, she says, do you know what my autograph is worth? She refused to sign the shirt. I was like, oh my God, is that with all these signatures? And she wouldn't sign the shirt. So sometimes we see crazy things.
What has been the most challenging project you've worked on to cast?
Well, there was a movie that I needed Indians. That was challenging. I met with the Seminoles. I met with the Miccosukees. And I ended up using the Miccosukees. And I got them to the hotel. I took them to the hotel for wardrobe and everything. And then I took them back to the reservation. And everything was wonderful. And then when we got back to the reservation, they said, well, we proved ourselves to you. How are you going to prove yourselves to us? When I was a kid, they said, you cut your finger, you do like that, you become blood brothers. They had no idea what I was talking about, so it's not true. I said, well, I don't know. They said, you have to wrestle an alligator. So I said, okay, I wrestle an alligator or I get fired. Seemed like an easy choice.
Absolutely. So how did wrestling the alligator?
The funny thing is, they left me alone with the alligator on a mound of grass surrounded by a moat full of alligators. They all ran away. And I'm sitting there. I had a death grip on with my knees and my hands, and oh my God, it was scary. But
Definitely.
That was kind of challenging.
So tell us a little bit about your agency. I know we had talked a little bit about the classes that you offer and things of that nature. So how can anyone that's listening in or watching the episode today, how can they connect you?
Green Room Acting Studio is who I teach for. So it's easy enough to find me anywhere on social media, see my classes.
And they can just register online.
Yes.
And as far as like acting, like how you approach it, do you use a particular technique in your classes for acting? Or
I tell them they should study all techniques and see what works best for them. Knowing all the different techniques, you could use a combination, or you might stick to one or two. My theory is positivity, believability, and control. You can be in control of all of your stuff, especially when it comes to knowing what to wear for wardrobe. I mean, I could tell you so many stories about it. I was casting a very upscale scene that I needed a man and woman in a restaurant with a sommelier giving them wine, and I needed them dressed up and looking. A girl came into audition in jeans and a T-shirt.
It's really important to audition dressed as
the character. You have to be 100% because, again, it's your control, but you've got to be believable. We have to look at you and believe what you're saying and how you look. And it's a combination of many things. One of the biggest things is you've got to believe that you can do it. You've got to be positive. You can't let negativity take over. The expression, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. My expression is sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. So if you really want to do it, go for it. If it doesn't work, you've learned why it didn't work. So then it's a good experience because you've learned something.
And then you put it in for the next time. I mean, I always say acting is a long game. You live, you learn, you live, you learn, you live, you learn, and hopefully you book something. So what are some other mistakes that you see actors making that could help them out, that might be watching this, or anything else that they think they need to know that could help them along the way?
Well, there's a lot that they could use, but one thing I do want to mention is I'm not an agency. We worked long and hard to make casting directors, not casting agents. So they have to know that we are not agents, and they have to get an agent that, of course, they don't pay for, that will help them and guide them into, send them out on auditions. They must keep studying to know how to go to audition for different types of roles. This happens all the time. Oh, she's a great mother. Anytime you need a mother, call her. Well, she'd like to do some other roles, too. So you have to make sure you're diversified.
Obviously, she could play a mother, but is that because you see her as another role?
If she's a good actress, she could play other roles.
But you're saying you see her being sent out for, they kind of typecast. And it's like, oh,
Right.
but maybe
But she can do other things
She can do
as
other
well.
things, right. So in that case, you want an agent that also can submit you for a variety of
Well,
roles.
What I like to do, which I don't think anybody else does, I like to send the agents don't ever see their talent auditioning, so they don't really know. When I get a talent who is really amazing, I send the audition to their agent so they can see the talent that they have. On the other hand, if someone is really, really bad and not ready to audition, I send that too. You have to let the agents know.
Yeah, they're not going to know. And then they're going to keep sending out the person and they're not going to get booked. They're going to get
Right.
frustrated. And
And they're wasting
like
their
a
time, the
snowball.
talent's time, and my time.
I know that you received a lot of accolades. The Key to the City for Miami Beach, the Lifetime Achievement Award from your alma mater, you know, having 2 days as Ellen Jacoby Day, being nominated in the Hall of Fame and all these things, you know, for Tallahassee's Women Hall of Fame. When you receive that public acknowledgement for your work, what does that mean to you? How is that experience for you?
It's thrilling for me inside, but I get a little embarrassed if I have to go out in public because that's not what I'm used to doing, but I've gotten better at it. It warms my heart. Of course, it makes my parents so proud, although I lost my daddy. It makes me proud. Lends more credibility to what I do, and it's exciting.
Do you actually do something yourself to celebrate on those 2 days?
Not usually, but my friends will do something to celebrate. Yeah, I don't usually go out for it, but all my friends do. When I went to December 6th at the Palm Beach at the government center where they have all the, my goodness, it was like everybody's there. I can't believe how many people came. You know, a couple of kids. They brought the whole family, and they put EJ on their face, and they dressed up. It was just so adorable, and it's nice to have that support because that's what I do. I support actors, good actors.
Yes, you work very hard, and it's nice, I think, you know, to receive it back. Appreciation for all the hard work. I can definitely attest to that. Next year, the Academy for Motion Picture is adding a new category
Yes.
for Oscars, Achievement in Casting for films that are released this year.
All right.
In 2025. So in 2026, casting directors will be eligible. So what do you think about this?
I think it's wonderful. I really do. I wish that it would have backtracked.
We don't need to start with these films. We just go back.
The quality and everything of movies is like in the Hollywood, it's all changing now.
What do you mean?
It's kind of going downhill a little bit. I think the new Hollywood is going to be Vegas. They're spending billions to open studios there. Sony, Warner Brothers, big studios are all opening there. And there's a lot of work in Europe, a lot of work coming from Europe and using American actors over there and back and forth. I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but I would think that, you know, there's a good casting director somewhere that's going to make a great film.
So what do you think, kind of talking about overseas, about the current administration putting tariffs on films that are being shot overseas?
I'm of mixed emotions about that. I really am. Because I don't see what we had coming out of Hollywood. What we did have coming out of Hollywood is not happening now. I think we should be all able to work together on film work. I'm not talking about things that are made in China that are sold here. You know, I'm talking about actors that make a living doing this. And they should be able to work here and there. I don't see why we should impair that.
Because it might impact an actor's decision, perhaps, to take a role overseas or
I
not.
think if an actor gets a role at this point in time, they'll go.
They're going to take it, yeah.
And they should.
I know that I just saw that New York just came out with some additional incentives.
And New Jersey, New Mexico, Louisiana, Texas. And hopefully we will get them back in Florida. This is where they want to film. You can make it any age, and you've got all kinds of land here. I mean, when we did Rock of Ages, it was supposed to be Los Angeles. We shot the whole thing here in Miami. You know the Hollywood sign in Los Angeles? We had it here at the Pompano Dump. And that's where we filmed it. And it looked exactly like the Hollywood sign in Los Angeles. We filmed the whole thing here.
What do you think it's going to take for us to get film incentives back in Florida?
I think we have to address the governor and some of the politicians again. I don't know what happened. The Koch brothers, of which there's only one left now, but the Koch brothers seem to be a very big influence. And I don't know why they should have been such a big influence on the Florida politicians, but they made a fortune by putting the incentives into Georgia. They sold all their properties, they built this, and that's what we need here in Florida. This is where they'd rather film. I mean, look at Bad Boys. The last 2 Bad Boys were filmed in Georgia, but they had to come down here to get some exteriors. Should have shot the whole thing here.
What is it going to take? Because now you see all of
filming
these
incentives.
Yeah.
You know, if you have it's strictly mathematical. If you have a $10 million movie that you want to make, you come to Florida, it's going to cost you close to $10 million. Although we're getting some incentives in Miami and Broward County. If you go to Georgia, it's going to cost you $7 million. It's clear what you're going to do. And we don't need 30%. If we do 25%, they'll come here.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick break, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our partners that helped us make this show possible. Cine Videotech has provided film equipment, training, and rental services inside and outside the United States since 1968. Theatrical Productions offers consulting, productions, and rental services in Central and South America for a wide range of films, advertising, marketing, commercial projects, and more. Art Accelerator is a non-profit organization that helps emerging artists accelerate their careers through film classes and film industry networking events.
Welcome back, film family, to the Cinema Pathway TV show with casting director Ellen Jacoby and our new mascot, Teddy OMG. Ellen, we were talking about film incentives in Florida and basically solving the world's problems. Before we went on our last break, you had been appointed to the first film advisory board by Governor Jeb Bush. So tell us a little bit about how that happened, your experience, and what you were doing at that time.
It was relatively early in my career, but we were really pushing forward to see what we could do for filming in Florida. And several of us got together. I don't know how Jeb got my name. But he did, and he appointed me to the first film advisory board. I think it's a good thing. And now, of course, we have statewide Film Florida. It's very good to help keep the public informed. You know, when you close down the street because you're filming, people get annoyed. They don't realize they're filming because it's bringing a lot of money into your community. When a film comes in, people don't really realize how much is spent within the community. We use gas stations to fill up all the vehicles, all the trucks, everything, and we use a lot of them. On True Lies, we had like 2 miles worth of vehicles. I mean, you got to fill all the tanks up. You've got to feed everybody.
Hotels.
We feed everybody. We have breakfast, we have lunch, and we have snacks and craft service all throughout the day. So it does bring a lot of money into the community. One of the things I was working on in Coconut Grove, they needed wood, so they went to the local lumberyard and spent $100,000. That was like a windfall for the local lumberyard that had no idea they were going to be getting $100,000 from a movie. It's important that we use all the local facilities available to us, and we do. All the products, sometimes we film at some of the places, and it's good for the community, and I think people are realizing that now. There'll be a little inconvenience, but it's worth it.
They did a really great job during the last Bad Boys movie of letting everyone know what roads were going to be closed and what times and stuff like that. It was very well received because it was so well managed that people knew, like, okay, this is cool. This is happening. Great. Let me just avoid this thing. And people were, I felt in the city, people were like excited and more excited about the production than like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so much traffic
and then nobody
complaining
knows what's going on.
And no one knows what's going on.
They inform everyone.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I think they did a really fantastic job of that this time, and and showed us what was possible. Even in Fort Lauderdale, when they shut down the street to do some of the chase scenes, they did a really great job of that. I was surprised actually when Ballers left. They left to Vegas. I was really surprised. I thought Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was going to be able to convince the legislature to give us incentives at that time, because it seems to me like everyone loves The Rock. But no, they wound up leaving.
I went to Tallahassee. I brought Jeffrey Donovan, the star of Burn Notice. I was on that show for like 7 years, and we became friends. And I said, Jeffrey, you want to go to Tallahassee? He said, sure, Elle. So I brought Jeffrey on my dime. I brought Jeffrey up to Tallahassee. They came to me and said, will Jeffrey address the House? They were having a meeting. I said, Jeffrey, would you address the House? He said, but I had given him one sheets of all the stuff that he would know. And he got up there and he did great. And then at the end, the moderator said, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Donovan? And it was like silence. So then one of the female senators, Maria Sachs, raised her hand and they said, yes. She said, what are you doing later for dinner, Mr. Donovan? And the whole place cracked up, and then we started conversations, and we got filming incentives. It's so important. It brings so much revenue to the state, provides so much employment. And what it does, I mean, we have to feed all these people. We go to the local markets. It just really helps the economy locally. Look what it's done to Atlanta.
Putting minds together to make things happen. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard a story one time that you were cast by someone on set to perform?
Well, not on set. I've been cast a couple of times. I was doing a TV series for the Italians. They were filming in Costa Rica and did the whole casting. I said, Ellen, fabulous, fabulous casting. Go through the whole list. I said, but you didn't book Consuelo. They said, Ellen, you have to book Consuelo. I said, no, I'm a casting director. I don't take jobs away from SAG actors. No, we're not going to do it. I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. So they flew me to Costa Rica. Hair, makeup, and wardrobe was at the hotel. Oh, and who was I? I was the madam of the bordello.
Amazing. That sounds like fun.
They dressed me in a red see-through lace thong teddy with red high heels. And then they take me to the location, but it's rush hour traffic in Costa Rica and San Jose. They said, well, Ellen, you're going to have to get out here and walk a block, which I did. It was quite amusing.
Can imagine you
made all
quite
kinds
a
of
stir.
friends and honks and everything. But I walked a block in that red lace thing to the location. But, you know, you have to do it with fun. I was in Burn Notice, not because of me, because of my little Skippy, who looked exactly like this. Oh, Ellen, we have to have Skippy in tomorrow. I said, no, he's not a trained animal for movies. Oh, we need him. Be in Homestead at 4:30.
There's a lot, going on with the industry right now. We've talked about a couple of things. What do you see impact that AI is having on the industry?
Big impact. I think they're trying to see how they can control it now, because now you can make a whole movie, but you've got to get releases from photos and that kind of thing. It's going to have a negative impact, but it's also got a positive impact. But they've got to work out all of the things. I mean, you can't just use a star in an AI movie. You got to pay. And I think that AI is doing some things just to create some things that may not be quite right. It's huge. It's going to have a very big impact on everything.
Where do you see the future of the industry 5-10 years from now with this impact?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. It's not going to be what it was 5 years ago, and it's got that progression. So I don't think it's going to be what we have now either. It's going to be a change. There's going to be a big change.
Yes, I was listening to a producer, and they were talking about how they're currently using AI with the big soundstage, the light that they have, that they can actually project any background, right, digitally, and then it looks like you're there. So I can see there are benefits, because then you don't have to fly the whole team there, right? I
agree. But think of how beneficial it is when you don't have to shut down a whole causeway, because you've got the causeway at the back, and then you have AI with the cars and everything.
Right. I know. That's right.
And it's also cheaper.
What about as far as casting goes? Do you think that it will ever replace like a casting director?
Perhaps in a different way. I don't think it will replace the casting director, but they'll have to look to make deals, and who will make the best deal for them to use the AI.
So I never thought about that. But maybe AI would still need, would it be representation?
I'm not sure if it would be representation or negotiation.
I've heard also, to pay actors, right, just to use their likeness. So that's another thing that I've been hearing about. So maybe you don't get the actor, but you pay them for their likeness, and at least they get compensated that way.
Of course.
So I think right now I am not an expert. It just occurs to me like they're trying to figure out the legality of those types of things, because a few actors have already spoken up. And then with all of the strikes, it kind of seems seems like a perfect storm.
And then you've got a lot of unions involved with filming. How's that going to affect that? You
Yes.
might be getting a lot of people out of work.
I've been thinking to myself, is this really kind of like the time more for like the independent filmmaker in a way? They're not as impacted by these huge budgets in a way that excites me, because I'm like, okay, it's a little more accessible, I think, to a broader audience.
It
locally.
is, and then there's so many film festivals.
What is your take on film festivals?
I do. I go see some film festivals and see some of the films that are put out there and meet some of the new directors and producers of them. Yes, I think it's great and positive. It's something that they want to do, that they go ahead and do it. I believe in that.
Some people have a variety of opinions on festivals, just because it's like, do you really need to go festival run? The point of the festival obviously is to see and market and network, and but my understanding is that the end line, like at least for me, it would be distribution.
With a script at a film festival, there's different categories. You might be able to get funding a little bit easier.
But I guess on your side too, it would kind of be networking, for upcoming projects, perhaps, that you could cast upcoming projects for them locally and things of that nature.
Right. I like to work with people, and I will lower my rates. I did, University of Miami came to me, was a student with a film, and they all come to me all the time. Mm-hmm. And I look at their work, and I read the script and everything, and I really don't do it. This one came to me from the University of Miami, and I looked at his work, and I was like, oh my God. And I love the script. So he said, I only have $3,000 to pay you. I said, okay. I called an actor friend who started in Orlando and became big, who moved out to LA with his family, recognizable actor. And I said, there's a role for you in this film. It's unbelievable, but it's a student film and there's no budget. I could pay you $3,000. I told the student I wanted that money, my money, to go to him. And he came in, and this kid had an eye that was unbelievable. And this film was fabulous. It makes me feel good inside.
Because that's really nurturing the next generation.
Absolutely.
And then that actor, because it comes from you, and they know you would never give them anything that wasn't amazing. I was curious if you had ever thought of, we talked a little bit about maybe writing a book about your extraordinary life, really, truthfully. Or have you ever thought about writing a film or directing your own project?
Yeah, I have a TV series here that I want to do. I would talk about, but I haven't I didn't copyright. Yes, I definitely want to produce a TV series. I like having certain people commit to me for that, and hopefully I'll be able to discuss it soon. And then as far as my life, a very dear friend of mine, Sharon Gless from Cagney and Lacey, who did Burn Notice, she's been a friend of mine for many, many, many years. And her husband, Barney Rosenzweig, he produced Daniel Boone, Charlie's Angels, he was a big producer. And he keeps telling me, Ellen, we got to make a movie of your life. I said, I don't know where to start. He says, you don't have to write it all down. When you say an incident that happened, record it. And you'll have so many recordings of different incidents, they'll all fall into place. So you don't have to write it down. I said, okay, I'll try that. So I have to start recording incidents. Well, I've got some right here. Everybody wants to know, who would play you? And I said, I don't know. But it brings to mind a funny story. I was out to dinner, not that long ago. I was out to dinner with some friends. And this older gentleman came up to me, stranger, said, oh my God, you look just like Anne Margaret. And I said, why,
yes.
Thank you so much. And he looked at me and says, you're much too young. You don't even know who she is, do you? Thank you. That was a big compliment. That was bigger than I look like Anne Margaret. But, people have asked me that. I don't know. But it would be fun to figure it out.
Ellen, one of the most extraordinary things about you, I think, is your positive mindset. Because I really believe this is who you are. Every human has good days and bad days. It's like you made a decision, like this is how my life's going, and that's it.
It has to be, because I've gone through some difficult things. If I'm negative, I'm not going to survive. I'm not going to be out there. I'm not going to be working, Granted, I hurt, but there's better things out there. There's reasons to make me smile, and I want to smile.
I think it's just being grateful then every day. There's so many things to be grateful for.
There are.
On that note, we are going to take a short break, and we will be back with Teddy, OMG, and Ellen, Jacoby. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Cinema Pathway TV, we are committed to bring value to you and our film community as we explore the craft of filmmaking around the world. Also, visit us online at www.paradoxicalfilms.com/shop, where you can purchase Paradoxical Films and Cinema Pathway gear such as hoodies, t-shirts, hats, stickers, and more. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at cinema_pathway_podcast for behind-the-scenes footage, photos, and more.
Hello and welcome back to the Cinema Pathway TV show. Here with casting director Ellen Jacoby and Teddy OMG. Ellen, when we took a break, you were telling me about something that happened with a charity that you were working with that you wanted, a story that might be interesting. A fun story.
I like working with charities. I think it's important to give back. I was working on a movie and I became friends with Joe Pesci. He was one of the funniest people you'll ever meet. And we stayed friends for a while because we had other mutual friends. And these charities always come to me with everything. Can you get this to the star, get stars to autograph? I can't do that. They're working actors. It's not. I just can't keep going to stars and asking for things. So for this, it was cystic fibrosis, and I went to Joey. And I said, Joey, they want to send out a pizza box, a small pizza box size, and we'll put anything you want in it. Acrylics, canvas, charcoals, whatever you want. Would you just make a little drawing and sign your name so we can auction it off at cystic fibrosis? He said, okay, I'll do it, El. I said, okay, what do you want me to say? Don't send me anything. He says, I didn't send him anything. 2 weeks later, I get a painting, 8-foot painting of a priest. Across it, it's written, God is a good fella. And he signed it, Joe Pesci. That made the event. It was so great. It's so great to do that for charities. It makes them smile, makes you smile.
What other charities have you been involved in over the years?
Mostly cystic fibrosis, Make-A-Wish, YWCA, Miami Student Aid Task Force, some local stuff.
Because we've been talking about your life and TV show coming out, I was thinking it might be fun to kind of like ask you your fondest memory, or it doesn't always have to be like a happy thing, but by the time you were 5, like what did you remember? Like what's like the standout moment for you, or the something that you remember?
Just moved to New York, and then I started school, the private professional school. I remember my first grade teacher. All these years later, I still remember her.
What was it about her that stood out to you?
She was just so warm and loving to everybody in the class. Miss Lindsay.
Is there anyone that you haven't worked with yet that you've wanted to work with?
So many great directors and actors that I can't think of one in particular that has eluded me.
Pretty much worked with everybody. That's why I was asking if there was like that opportunity to work with. Yeah. What would be a standout moment one way or another for you?
Oh, my teenage years, high school, and then college. I did a radio station in college.
Okay. So
that was kind of fun.
You were like a DJ?
Uh-huh.
Oh, cool.
And it's funny. I tell my students, you wake up, you don't feel in a good mood in the morning, put on some music, sing, dance. And the funny thing is, if you look at the great singers, they're great actors. They know how to put the story across. And great singers, you'll see in movies as great actors. And I tell them to do that. Sing. Make yourself happy. Do morning pages.
You do morning pages? I used to do them. I have to get back. What's your favorite go-to song? What makes you a song that makes you feel good and happy to sing?
Well, it depends on what mood I'm in. I like so many, but I'm basically the old school. I listen to Legends Radio, the Great American Songbook. I love that kind of stuff. Believe it or not, when I go out, they still ask me to get up and sing. I do, and I get up and I sing, and it's rewarding for me. And everybody loves it, so it's rewarding for them, too.
I think everybody has, I don't want to say like a jazz standard, but do you have like a favorite jazz standard?
I like different songs from different artists, and generally they're older. I'm not crazy about some of the songs I'm hearing now.
So were your parents also like in the industry?
Not really. My daddy, very handsome man, he came out of the Roxy Theater on his 18th birthday, December 7th, 1941. So he walked out of the Roxy Theater with his friends when Pearl Harbor was bombed. So Daddy at 18, just turning 18 that day, joined the Navy.
Wow.
But my father was very handsome and had an amazing body, believed in that. And he was Mr. New York.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's cool.
And then he became a doctor, a chiropractor. And he just had major healing ways. He healed so many people. And Mother, she was a secretary to lawyers. She was a legal secretary. It's nice. It's nice that you get to do things that you're not used to doing, and they make you smile, and then you know how to make other people smile.
How interesting that your accident had to do with your back and that your father is a chiropractor. That is very interesting.
So he got me walking again and everything, and then he said, okay, now, you're not ready to drive. I couldn't wait to come home to Florida. I came home to Florida, I got in my car and drove, and my leg didn't work and had an accident. I didn't tell him though.
So let's go back to like casting on set, being on set. What's like another, what's something that was another memorable moment for somebody that you've worked with?
I guess maybe I just assume that these are all natural things when I'm on set, and I've been on a million sets. And I love it. I love to see. What I do also is when I'm on set with a lot of people, like for example, the Waterboy filming this dance, I would hire extras that came early and had good attitudes. I would hire them to help me sign in people. So they'd have to be there at 4:30 in the morning too. And I would give them more money than just their extra money. I would pay them additional as my assistants.
So you were creating an energy on set. So their job was to create the vibe, to create the energy.
Right. And run up and down as it gets warm to give people water. And Henry Winkler was amazing. He'd come over and he'd say hello to everybody and shake hands. Yeah, it was really nice. Not all stars are nice.
I know these days it's really interesting. A lot of people are talking about kind of like how invasive the paparazzi can be and how it can really be unhealthy for people. And now actually speaking up, because for so long it's been this tumultuous kind of relationship. And I know like the younger generation is just kind of saying like, hey, no problem, I'll do this for you, but I need my space. I just need you to respect my space. Maybe they're method acting, maybe they don't want to get out of character.
It's like I tell all my students, you've got to do social media. It's become so important. But the one thing about social media that I tell everybody, never put down anything that's controversial.
Are you ready for final thoughts, Ellen?
No.
Are you ready for final thoughts, Teddy OMG?
Yes, he is.
Yes. So Ellen, tell us, how would you like to be remembered?
As someone who likes to give, someone who tries to help people achieve their goals and dreams, and being known as a good person with standards, with values, but you're not going to take advantage of it.
And if you had to sum up all of your work in one word, what do you think it would be?
Success, gold.
I love it. Is there anything that you maybe want to accomplish that you haven't yet?
I want to make my TV series, and I want to do my TV series here in Florida.
Well, Ellen, thank you so much. It has been
Thank you
such
so
a
much for
pleasure
inviting
having
me.
you.
And Teddy.
OMG, it has been a pleasure having you. You are a star, both of you. And you're welcome back anytime on the Cinema Pathway TV show.
Oh, good. I'd love to come back again sometime.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. We're going to be promoting your show next time. Thank you so much, Film Family, for tuning in. Until next time, that's a wrap.
Lights Out.